While I've got the engine out, I have been studying on doing some work on this ride here, putting a power steering on it. It's a hazy to have to turn as much as I do in a day's time, and it's always been manual steering. I don't know whether there's ever been one of them made with power steering or not, but I hadn't paid a whole lot of attention to the steering box. I have adjusted it a couple of times, or maybe more than that, because it's up in there behind the wheel and you got to take the wheel off to get to it. But I pulled it off the other day, and this right here is the old steering box off of the thing, and it's got, well, I got it turned, but it's got that much play in it, and it's getting to be a hoss to try to hold it in the road. And this is power steering box off of a deuce and a quarter Buick. For those who don't know, a deuce and a quarter is an electric 225, about 76 model, somewhere in that neck of the woods. But I was concerned about whether or not it was going to fit on there because of this rounded out spot here. Well, when I got the old box off, it's rounded out just like this. There's both of them Saginaw steering boxes, and that box was mounted on this plate right here, and this made those 3 bolts right there go in these 3 holes, and then this plate mounts up to the frame. So the only problem I've run into fitting wise is the input shaft up here is about 2 inches further away from where it's mounted. In other words, this distance here is about 2 inches more than this one here is. But this thing has a slide type universal joint on it, and decided that I can make up the difference by putting the rag joint in it, which that's a rubber coupler. It's a whole lot shorter. Then the other problem I've got is I've got to pull the pitman arm off this box, turn it 180 degrees, then I'm going to have to put a bend in it, or 2 bends like this one here is, because the box sets up straight that the pitman arm has to be bent up to keep the steering linkage about halfway in line. The steering linkage on this thing has got this bar right here. It runs from the pitman arm all the way over to the left front wheel, and then it's got the tie rod in between the 2 wheels. So that'd be fairly simple to hook up. And then I got the pump here that I've got to pull a pulley on it and take this bracket off of it, and then I've got to make a bracket and mount that pump onto this engine up in here. If I don't put it up here, I'll have clearance problems because of the size of the motor cavity in there. So I'll have to mount the pump up here, and then just put another pulley on down here on the crankshaft. And when I put that pulley on, I will make a timing mark on it, and that way it'll be mounted to the center and won't never move, even if this mark does move. So, just thought I'd let you know what we was doing, and I'll be back with you later. Okay, the fitment arm puller done that job. Snatched that thing right on off. Now, I'm gonna have to, well, let's see here. Went right back on there, didn't it? It's got two wide teeth on it, and they're exactly opposite of one another. So I had to turn it 180 degrees, so that just works out just plumb perfect. Take a brush, clean up a little bit of that junk there, and figure out how I'm going to bend this thing. I expect it's going to involve some heat. So we'll talk to you later. Bye. Well, I went down and played with my press a little bit. It ain't the prettiest thing in the world, but it's pretty darn close to what I wanted. And so I couldn't use this one because the hole's smaller, the shaft's smaller in that manual box than it is in this power steering box. But I think we got her close enough where she'll work. We'll talk at you later. Bye. Well, I've been working about half the afternoon trying to figure out exactly how I'm going to mount this here power steering pump. With all my figuring and everything, I'm going to have to come up to about right there with the pump in order for the pulley to clear everything, and work like it needs to. Like I say, these things ain't never had a power steering on them, and this year's getting to be a little bit of a challenge. But we'll talk at you later. I done enjoyed about all I can stand for today. Well, I've been working all day and got very little accomplished. But I have got me a start bracket for my power steering pump. After I had that pulley go bad on that other one, you know, it broke when I was trying to pull it off. I happened to think about, I got an old Buick Skylark down there with a blowed up motor in it. And I decided to go down there and check it. It's an 80 model. And got to looking, and it's got the right pump on it. Well, I say the right pump, but it's a single belt pulley pump. And the pulley sticks on out pretty good, so that gives me more room to play with on this motor as far as getting that thing mounted. So, like I say, I got to start on a mount, and I'll work on it some more and talk to you later. Bye. Well, I have finally been able to get back to work on this ride here again after a whole lot of complications, rainy weather, and a death in the family. And I've decided to change the tanks on the pump. The pump that come off of the 80 model Buick is this one right here, and these two bolts we use to mount with, and then these two holes over here we use to mount with. But the difference in it was this is a tank off of the 80 model Buick, and this hole right here and this hole off of the 70 model Electric 225 is more or less what determines how the pump sits in the front of it. And this hole being turned over this way that far, my bracket to hold the pump up, I had to make that much of a bend on it to get that tank to stand up straight. So what I'm doing is taking the tank off of the 70 model and putting it on the 80 model Skylark pump. But I run into one little complication. The 80 model Skylark pump had as soon as I find the darn thing, this bracket right here across the back of it, and this mounted to two holes like that. Well, what I want to do is put this bracket on this one, so I've got to actually drill another hole in this tank. And in order to locate where that hole goes, I got everything cleaned up, and I took the tank, took the O-ring off of the side of the pump here where I can slide the tank on and off good, and got this hole and this hole lined up, these two holes, and then I put some anti-seize on the back of this hole here, set the pump down on it and smacked it with a hammer, and that gave me that mark there inside the tank. So I drilled a hole in that, and now I'm going to start working that hole out larger in order to get the thing to fit on there, and have it where this tank will actually sit up straight and hold this bracket on my pump straight. So I'll show you more directly. Okay, here's the old 2 1/4 pump with the Skylark tank on it. And if you'll notice, it's got a hole right there to put a bolt in, but there wasn't originally anything in that hole. And here is the Skylark pump with the 2 1/4 tank on it. So that'll let it stand up a whole lot more, and I'll have less of an angle on this, and have a better mount on it, I feel like. And we've got our 2 bolts back here, and we can put that strap on the back of it if I ever find it. Right here. Put that scooter on there like that, and have a back mount on this pump to help hold it down. Ain't put it that way, got to put it that way. Alright, be back with you shortly. Well, after many interruptions and many hours of filing and figuring and so on, we have got a power steering pump mounted on this AMC motor. Only thing I got to do now is to take it off, pretty it up a little bit, and paint it, and we'll be ready to go. Got mounted there. Actually got more bolts holding it on than it did originally. It'd be 4 bolts on the front and 1 on the back. And I like the idea of having this brace on the back here, and make it a whole lot more sturdy. And then I had to put, instead of trying to make it where the pump would swing, I took this idler right here and put on it to adjust the belt. That's a back in the 70s model Ford air conditioning idler, so it'll be strong enough to carry that power steering pump. It was strong enough to carry the air conditioning. So maybe we can get moving now on this thing. We'll talk at you later.